Hi everyone, my name is Nkwasa Genesis, and today we are back with another episode of the Regardless podcast. Have you ever had thoughts like, I hate myself, I hate my life, I hate whatever that I'm doing? If you're filled with feelings of self hatred, you know how frustrating they can be. Not only does self hatred limit what you can achieve in life, but it also worsens your mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression. So let's talk about it. Yeah, all right, we are back. Uh, some days you feel like, oh, I hate my life, or why am I here? What am I doing? Everything is my fault. And you hate your life, you hate whatever you're doing, whether it's school, whether it's work. And in order to get over feelings of self hatred, it is most important to recognize the signs and symptoms, understand the underlying causes, triggers, and realize the powerful effects it has on your life, and finally make a plan to get over those feelings of self hatred and develop healthy coping skills to feel better. You might be there and you don't know maybe how it feels to hate yourself. So that's why I'm going to share with you some signs that you might be living with, that might show that you're living with self-hatred, or beyond. Self-hatred is like beyond having a negative self-talk. And below are some signs. Uh, all or nothing thinking. Sometimes you might see yourself and your life as either good or bad, without any shades of gray in between. If you make a mistake, you feel as though everything is ruined or that you are a failure. And sometimes it happens, when you make like one mistake and then you think like, oh, I'm done, or like it is done. You might make a mistake in school, at work, or maybe even in your relationship, and then you think like, oh, it is done. uh, Another sign that you might be having self-hatred is like focusing on the negative. even if you had Even if you have a good day, sometimes you might find yourself tending to focus on the bad things that happened in the good day, or what went wrong, instead of focusing on the good things that happened you know so if every time you find yourself focusing on the negative stuff, maybe you're worried about the future, maybe you're worried about work, or if you're in a relationship, you're worried about that maybe my partner doesn't think that I'm good, or maybe I'm not doing enough. That is another sign of having self-hatred. Emotional reasoning. You take your feelings as facts. If you notice that you are feeling bad or like a failure, then you assume that your feelings must reflect the truth of the situation, and then you are in fact bad. So sometimes you might just have maybe some emotional things, or emotional battles that you're going through, and then you forget that any emotions, they just come and go. They are feelings. So sometimes you might have an emotion and then you are like, oh, it's done, and then you start hating your life, or you start hating yourself just because of an emotion that you just had. And like I always say in my other episodes, that emotions like feeling bad, they are just feelings. They come and go. No one will feel emotional for a year, for a month. They might come for days or weeks, but at the end of the day they will go away. Low self-esteem is another sign of self-hatred. Sometimes you might generally have low self-esteem and don't feel as though you measure up when comparing yourself to others in daily life. Comparing our lives to others is one thing that maybe I think we cannot escape, that we often do most times. You might compare yourself with your best friend, maybe a celebrity. You might compare your family with other people's family, and after the comparison, then you might say like, oh, I hate my life, I hate my family, or I hate whatever that I'm going through. So when you sometimes compare yourself with other people, then it's also a sign of self-hatred. Sometimes when you can't accept compliments, and that is one of my issues. Sometimes people tell you like, oh, you're hardworking, you're handsome, you're trying the best, you're smart, but then you can't see the compliments that people are talking about you. You can't see them in yourself. Like maybe you don't see yourself as smart, as handsome, or as hardworking. It's hard. If someone says something good about you, you discount what was said or think that they are just being nice. You find yourself having trouble accepting compliments and tend to brush them off instead of accepting them. We are 2 months away from ending this year, and if you're still here and you're listening to this podcast, I would like to tell you that I'm proud of you, because we've been through a lot. A lot of people have gone, have died, a lot of people have given up, but for you, you're still here. So that's a sign why you should be proud of yourself and start accepting the compliments. Another sign of having self-hatred is like taking criticism personally. Sometimes you might have a hard time when someone offers criticism and tend to take it as a personal attack, or think about it for a long time, which affects you in your own way. Sometimes people criticize us to maybe guide us or to correct us where we are doing wrong, but so they are just critics. So if you think about them for a long time, then you are like, oh, maybe I'm a failure. Why did I not? Why would I not notice this? Maybe in the work, maybe in the assignment, maybe in your relationship, whatever that you're dealing with. So that makes you reach at a certain point where you start like hating your life and hating yourself. Another sign of having self-hatred is like fearful of positive connections. You may push friends away or potential partners out of fear when someone gets too close, and believe that it will end badly or you'll end up alone. Sometimes I do this, like when people try like to become so close, I'm thinking about like, oh, what happened last time? Maybe it will be like last time, how it happened, how it ended, how I trusted someone and then like they betrayed me, how I cared for some people, then they never like maybe gave the care back. So you're always thinking like the negative things about your life, and then so after pushing people away, then you realize that you are alone, like no one is there for you, and then you start hating yourself. You're like, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the bad one. Another sign of self-hatred is like being afraid to dream big. You are afraid to have dreams and aspirations and feel as though you need to continue to live your life in a lockdown on yourself, regardless of what you achieve. Sometimes you look at your life and you're like, all the dreams you have are like small dreams, and you are afraid to dream big or to go big. You know, you look at your life as, oh, maybe it is enough, or maybe I don't deserve that one, I don't deserve that person in my life, I don't deserve this gift, I don't deserve this and that. So that's also a sign of like self-hatred, because if you don't hate yourself and you love yourself, then you try to go big, or like to dream big, to do everything in a big way, because you love yourself. But if you hate yourself, then you'll be afraid to dream big. So if those signs that I've shared, there might be many other signs, because I think we all go through this situation differently. But if some of the signs that I shared with you sound too familiar, then you're probably wondering why you hate yourself and how you ended up here. You might not immediately know the answers to these questions, so it's important to take some time to reflect. And below are some of the possible causes why you're having self-hatred, or maybe even me too. I have it. Sometimes I have it, and some days you're feeling like, oh man, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What am I doing here? And then other days you're feeling like you're on the top of the world. So as I always say, they are just emotions. So here I'm going to share with you some of the possible ways that you can maybe try to deal with it, or try to find out some ways how you can stop them from affecting you. Having self-hatred thoughts or negative thoughts about your life, they affect you mostly if you're still going through like depression or anxiety, or if you're having any mental issues. It is important to remember that not everyone who experiences self-hatred will have had the same life experiences. There is no singular path that leads to thinking, I hate myself. Consider your unique circumstances and what might have brought you into this point. If those signs sounded all too familiar, then you're still wondering why. If you have a voice in your head like this, you might come to believe that these types of critical thoughts are the truth. If the voice tells you that you are worthless, stupid, or unattractive, you might eventually come to believe those things. And with those thoughts comes the belief that you are not worthy of love, success, confidence, or the chance to make mistakes. The more you listen to that critical inner voice, the more power you give to it. And in addition, you might eventually start to project your own insecurities onto other people, leaving you paranoid, suspicious, and unable to accept love and kindness. If this sounds like you, because it already sounds like me, then chances are that we have been listening to our negative inner critic voice for a long time. It is hard to avoid comparing yourself to others. We all do it from time to time, at work, at school, with friends, on social media. But this act of constantly evaluating how you measure up, you can it can have a big impact on your mental health and how you can see yourself. A simple word like I will never look like Messi, or I will never look like Ronaldo, can quickly spiral into I will never be good enough for anyone. Before you know it, just looking at yourself in the mirror can trigger thoughts of self-hatred and frustration. These feelings can be particularly distressing if you already live with a mental health conditions such as anxiety or depression. So, the first step to addressing any of the problem is understanding its truth. If you're battling a severe bout of self-hatred, it can be helpful to sit with that feeling and try to identify where it came from or where it comes from. You don't live in a vacuum, so consider what could have prompted these feelings that you have. I think you have heard it a million times, but journaling can really help here. Try to jot down some notes about it, what you did, how you felt during different activities, who you were with thoughts throughout the day. If you don't process the best by writing, you can record short videos or voice memos for yourself on your phone. You can also simply reflect for a few moments on the events of the day. Regardless of how you go about unpacking your day, try to keep an eye out for any common threads or patterns that might help you identify what triggers your negative thoughts or your self-hate thoughts. Coming up with ways to avoid or minimize them, there are some triggers you might not be able to avoid. So it's helpful to learn the tools to work through them. Another way how you can deal with your self-hatred situation is like try to challenge your negative thoughts. Sometimes self-hatred pops up when you aren't in a good place to reflect. When this happens, try having an internal conversation with yourself. For example, like if you think I hate myself, then it can be helpful to immediately ask why. If the answer is I look ugly in this dress, or I really messed up that meeting, or I really messed up that assignment, then try challenging that thought as well. Save yourself, that's not true. Then think of reasons this negative thought is wrong. Standing up to your own thoughts can feel denouncing. If that's the case, then try imagining a separate identity to combat your thoughts. Maybe they are a mix of all your favorite superheroes from childhood or a best friend. Imagine them coming in and stopping those negative or challenging those negative thoughts. Don't be discouraged if the positive side of things doesn't win. Simply challenging those negative thoughts helps to reinforce the idea that self-hatred isn't a fact or undeniable truth, it is an emotion. So sometimes when you have like those negative thoughts or self-hatred thoughts, then try challenging them in using some of the good things that happened. Another way that you can challenge those thoughts is practicing positive self-talk. Self-hatred often comes in a moment when you don't have compassion for yourself. If you have a period where you are feeling good, try it out a list of what you love about yourself. If you can think of anything, don't panic. Love is a strong emotion that's hard to feel towards yourself, mostly when you're going through a low situation or when you're feeling low. If it's easier, try to think of things you simply like or don't hate about yourself. Maybe you take excellent care of your pet or always know just what to bring to a potluck. Keep this list where you see it every day. Like maybe just jot it down, maybe on a mirror, maybe on the fridge, maybe on the wall, so that when you wake up every day, before you even think of anything else, you just see things that you like about yourself, things that you like about your life. Maybe it's hardworking, maybe it's trying to be extraordinary, maybe it's dreaming big, or maybe it's something that you achieved, maybe at school, at work, or at any point in your life. So when you wake up to that positive thing about yourself, then it might help you to keep feeling positive about yourself. For example, instead of saying I'm so bad at work presentations, you could reframe the statement to I don't feel like I did well in my presentation today. Or maybe I don't feel like I did well with that relationship, with that work assignment. This helps the negativity not to feel so overwhelming or permanent. After all, messing up one work, presentation, or assignment is only one instance, and it means you can do better next time. The next time you feel like saying, I hate myself, try to think of a small way you can reframe that statement to be more manageable and specific. Spend time with people who make you feel happy. Self-hatred can make you want to isolate. You might feel like you are like no one likes you or no one even wants to be around you. So while withdrawing from social situations may seem like the best action, according to our negative self-talk, like I have my friend, most times when I don't talk to him, I always know, oh, he's battling his demons. That's one of his ways of saying, like, oh, I've been lost, but I'm fine. I've been battling my demons. I've been home. In one of my episodes where I had this guest called Bash, I remember he said, sometimes people they call him like, hey Bash, come and we do this, come and we meet, and he doesn't go to meet them. And because that's the feeling he's having, like, I have to stay in my own bed, I don't have to meet any friends. Because negative thoughts or self-hatred makes you not feeling bad about being with other people, because the moment you're with them, then you start comparing their lives with you, or maybe they are good, or they have this one and I don't have it. So it makes you feel bad. So in order to challenge it, then you have to start to spend time with people who make you happy, maybe not people who make you think bad about yourself. Another way is to practice self-compassion. This may be the hardest item on the list, but it's perhaps the most helpful. Self-compassion is different from self-love. It means accepting your negative thoughts, mistakes, and failures, and understanding them as messy human moments. Any journey of healing, I think, starts with accepting or acknowledging that maybe I have stress, acknowledging that maybe I have anxiety, I have depression, or I'm going through this. Then after acknowledging or accepting it, then you find out why or how can I deal with it, how is it affecting me, how is it affecting my family, how is it affecting my relationships, my work, my studies, and everything. So it means forgiving yourself in the same way you would forgive a loved one for snapping at you in a moment of frustration. The next time you find yourself feeling about self-hatred, try to cut yourself some slack. Acknowledge that you aren't feeling great and remind yourself that that's okay. Also, if you remember one of the episodes I made, it was talking about like it's okay not to be okay. So, dwelling on certain actions you have taken that you aren't proud of, remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and those actions don't have to define you. Of course, self-compassion doesn't mean it doesn't happen overnight, but studies have shown that much like reframing or meditation, self-compassion is a trainable skill. And the last one is to ask for help. Remember, you're never alone in your mental health journey. Everyone has been where they are at one point or another, and most people need a little help to get through. It's a good idea to practice the items on the list with the help of a trusted mental health professional, if you can get one. But if you're like me, you're in Uganda, maybe in Africa, where mental health is still not so big, where it's hard to still access like therapists, where most people still have the negative, don't believe in mental health, that it exists, then it will be hard. But still, you can use some of the things that I've shared to try and cope up and fight these battles on your own in your mind. Like, have a positive mindset and challenge them. Because at the end of the day, no matter the motivations that we get, or even when we talk to the therapists or maybe our loved ones or partners, the big job or the big task it is in your mind, to believe what they tell you and move past them, to know, to accept whatever you're going through and what brings it, how does it happen, how can I overcome it, how is it affecting me. Because no matter how motivated you might be, you might feel motivated for like a few minutes or maybe 1 hour or maybe 1 week, but the only thing I can tell you is to find a reason to keep going amidst all these mental health illnesses, whether it's depression, anxiety, stress, suicidal thoughts, whatever that you're going through. If you're listening today, I would like you just to find a reason, one reason why you have to keep going, why you have to keep living, why you don't have to believe in that inner voice that is telling you otherwise. At the end of the day, learning how to go from I hate myself to I will do better tomorrow is one of the most beneficial life skills you can have. It won't come easily, but it will eventually be in your toolbox, preparing you for whatever else life puts in your path. Also this week, maybe last week, I read a quote and it was like, maybe sometimes we have pain or we are going through pain because maybe it comes to teach us, So sometimes if you accept the pain that you're going through, it will nurture you into a different person. If you accept it, if you don't give up, if you're having suicidal thoughts, if you don't let them win over your life, but if you find ways to deal with them, to accept them and overcome them. When I was starting this podcast, I opened up about my suicidal thoughts, and I can tell you that I haven't had them in a while. I haven't thought about it. I'm like, oh, it's life. But you might be there and you don't have people to open up to, or maybe it's hard to open up according to the community that you're living in. And that's why here at Regardless, I'm always available, maybe through my Facebook, WhatsApp. Even you can leave me a message here on the podcast. If you want to talk, if you want to open up about anything, this is an opportunity for you. We can talk about anything regardless. My name is Nkwasa Genesis, and this is Regardless. See you next week. And remember, you can catch this episode on all podcast platforms: Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, also on my YouTube channel as Nkwasa Genesis. Thank you. And if I take this opportunity to send you positive vibes, positive thoughts, and healing energy from whatever that you're going through, and you're not alone. There are millions of people just like you, just like me. So regardless, we have to move on with our lives. Thank you.